Welcome to the chapter. As per our syllabus. We have to look into the details of the ARM processor as such, and further in our syllabus we have to learn ARM-based microcontroller and details about the ARM processor. Further, we will study the details about the ARM controller as such. And in our syllabus at the end, we are looking the details of real-time operating system. So before learning into the details, first of all we'll see the ARM and its introduction. Before learning into the details of the ARM processor as such, we will study the basic definition of an embedded system. So we'll see that what is meant by an embedded system as such. Embedded system is nothing but what? It is a standalone, fully dedicated system designed specially to perform specific job. This is very important. So it's an purely dedicated system, and it is performing that particular specific job only, and according to that it has been designed. It may be designed by using discrete components. It's having the discrete components inside, or maybe ICs are there. Okay, or generally it is based on a microprocessor or a microcontroller inside. Another feature of an embedded system is that it is having a dedicated operating system inside. Okay, that operating system is also designed or written specifically for that system. Okay, as per the architecture and the requirements of the activities to be performed. Another feature of the embedded system is that it is able to perform the multitasking kind of execution. Means number of tasks are more, and parallelly it can execute the task. Okay, multiple tasks, more number of tasks it can handle. If the number of tasks are more, then naturally one can assign the priorities to that. Okay, this is very important. So whenever the number of tasks are more, one need to assign the priorities. So automatically the system can perform the task one by one as per the priorities. Okay, if you look into the examples of an embedded system, so multimeter could be an example which is based on the discrete components. Microwave oven is there, processor is there inside. TV remote controls are there. It is designed specially for that, for remote operations. DVD players are there for getting the sound. Okay, one can listen this music from the DVD players. Digital cameras are there for shooting purpose. Handycams are there. Mobile handsets are there, etc. So these are the some popular examples of an embedded system. If you look into the architecture or components of an embedded system, every embedded system is having input device, output device, CPU at the middle, some communication ports are there, output ports are there, wireless communication facilities there, etc. So all these are the standard components of an embedded system. So naturally the question arises that whether we can call any desktop or a personal computer as an embedded system. So because the PC is also having an input device, keyboard is there, output device means screen is there, CPU is there, memory is there, communication facility is there, ports are there. So can we call PC as an embedded system? The answer is no, because as per the embedded system definition, embedded system is having a dedicated operating system inside. But PC, in case of a PC, there is no any dedicated operating system inside. I can change the operating system in a PC as per my requirements. Suppose today I am working on a Windows 10, tomorrow I may work on a XP or day after tomorrow I may change the operating system and I can work in a Linux also. So I can change the operating system very easily in a desktop or a PC, but that is not possible in a embedded system. It's a dedicated operating system inside. So PC cannot be an embedded system as per the definition. Okay. If you look into the categories of an embedded system, there are the four important types are there. The first important type is the standalone type. Okay. In this standalone type of a system, embedded system, it works in a standalone mode. Standalone mode means what? Basically, it's a single unit as such, small unit. It takes the inputs, do some processing on that, and produces the desired output. For example, digital camera is there, microwave oven is there, CD player, AC, etc. These are these small devices, small embedded devices. They can take input, process them, and produces the desired output. In case of digital camera, the image has been taken as an input. Processing is to be done on that on image, and then further the image can be displayed or it is displayed on a screen. So like this, these devices are working. Okay. Second type is the real-time system. In case of real-time system, the specific work is done in a specific time period. This is very important. So time is very important factor in this real-time systems. So looking into the time, then there are the two categories again. One is the hard real-time system and the soft real-time system. In case of hard real-time system, something like this, it is working in this way. Missing a deadline may lead to a catastrophe. Missing a deadline means what? If any activity is not finishing or getting finished within the specific time period, then probably something damage will happen or some hazardous thing will happen into that. Okay, at the end. Example is that suppose missile is there and tracking the enemy's aircraft. Okay, missile has to attack the aircraft within a specific time period. That is what the requirement. If it is not getting attacked onto the aircraft, if it is missing the target and landing at some other place, then it may damage the or it may damage the society or that particular area, and it may create an havoc to that in that area. Some hazardous thing will happen. Okay, but in case of short real time systems, meeting the deadline is important, no problem, is the time is important, but if the activity is not happening within that particular time, then nothing hazardous will happen, so that is not leading to a catastrophe. This is very important. Okay, so for example, tray opening time period in a DVD player, if the tray is not getting opened properly within that particular time period, so nothing uh, hazardous will happen or there will be no any damage as such. It will take its own time, no problem. Okay, like this. In case of a third system, which is the network type of a system, these embedded systems are connected with each other through the network. Accessed by the network means all the activities are accessed by the network only. For example, LAN or internet means it's an entire network as such. Example is the servers of an internet service providers like Yahoo server is there, Google server is there. These are the network type of an embedded systems because they are having all the features of an embedded system inside, but everything is in a big scale, having a very large memory, very high speed devices, a very high speed processor is there inside, like this. So everything is huge. Okay, so that comes under the network type. The last type is the mobile type. In this case, all these embedded devices are or the systems are connected with each other wirelessly. So there is no any physical connection as such. Examples are the mobile handsets, tabs are there, pagers are there in earlier days. walkie-talkie is there. Okay, so like these are the embedded mobile type of an embedded systems. Okay, so in this case everything is happening wirelessly. So these are the four important categories of an embedded system. So this is how we have seen some definition and the categories of an embedded system at the beginning. Now we will move towards the details of the ARM processor as such. So first of all, before entering into the details of the ARM processor as such, we'll see some little bit history of the ARM. Uh, a company named Acron RISC Machines, which made the design of a first ARM processor. So this company has designed the first prototype model of an ARM processor. In 1985, the ARM1 was launched with less number of transistors onto the that silicon die. Further, ARM2 to ARM6 were designed but never really made a big impact in the market. Okay, so the next coming devices, uh, those becomes means those not becomes popular into the market. The big break came with ARM7. The next model ARM7, which is the very famous one, and it creates a big break. Okay, and this becomes very popular. And then onwards, the company has changed its name again. So instead of Acron RISC Machines, now that company is started knowing as an Advanced RISC Machines. So basically, the full form of ARM is it's a Advanced RISC Machines. Okay, so it's a ARM stands for. ARM7 becomes very famous and commercially successful ARM processor. Means okay, ARM7 again was followed by the ARM9, then further versions came into the market, ARM11. But if you look into these upper versions, the basic architecture is again same as that of ARM7. The latest series of these processors are designed further means in after the ARM7, all the latest series, those processors were designed as an Cortex, okay, which is having a slightly different architecture as compared to the ARM7. ARM is the biggest player in the embedded processor market with 90% or more of the market share. So it's a very famous processor which is available in the market as on today. So we have seen some features of the CISC architecture and we saw the some features of the RISC architecture as such. Okay. Now we'll see the details of the. Now we are entering into the ARM architecture as such. The very important type of architecture is there in case of ARM processor, that is known as a load store architecture. Okay, so we'll see the details about the load store architecture, which is very new to you. Okay, in this case, the ARM processor, which operates on a data which is held in a registers. This is very important. So all the operations which are performed by the ARM processor, those are happening on the data, but those all the data are available or the data is available in the registers only. Okay, so all these operations are carried out on the registers. This is very important. So there is no any accumulator or accumulator is coming into the picture. In case of this architecture, separate load and store instructions are there. Okay, uh, which transfer the data in between the register bank and the memory. Okay, now here load means what? The information is fetched from the memory and bring into the registers. So memory to registers means load and registers to memory means store. Okay, from the information is taken from the memory, it is brought into the registers. Okay, some operations have been performed on that, the processing is done on the registers, result has been prepared, and that result is again stored back to the memory. Okay, so load means what? Memory to register, and store means what? Register to memory. Okay, data processing operations are performed using registers, which is holding the data. Register banks are there. Okay, and multiple times rather than using the multiple memory access. This is related with the just like in CISC architecture, we saw that every time you have to access the memory for fetching the information. Here in this case, the facility is that you can take the data from the memory, you can bring it to the registers. Okay, and you can whatever the operations you want to perform on the registers, prepare the result, and then again you can send it back to the memory. So there is no any multiple access to the memory, so automatically that becomes a very you can say it can save the time period, and automatically system becomes a more faster. So that is the main advantage of the load. Okay, now we'll stop here, and the ARM design philosophy we'll see in the next session. Okay, thank you.